Good evening. Welcome to the January 2nd meeting of the Town of Clifton Park Town Board. This is our reorganizational meeting for 2019. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Pat, if you will call the roll.
Councilman Whalen.
Here.
Councilman Standard. Here. Councilman Romano.
Here.
Councilman Walloway. Here. Supervisor Barrett.
Here. We have our organizational resolution. I'll ask our town clerk to read it with only 2 breaths.
This is resolution number 1 of 2019, a resolution in connection with the reorganization of the Town of Clifton Park government for calendar year 2019. Resolved that the Town Office Building, Vernon Wood Memorial Town Meeting Room, be designated as the official regular meeting place for the Town Board, and that the official regular meetings are established as the first, second, and third Monday of each month at 7 p.m., except when Monday is designated as an official holiday. The Town Board meeting will be held on Tuesday at 7 p.m., and accepting that the summer schedule for the Town Board meetings are established as the first and third Monday of July and August at 7 p.m., and that roll call vote shall be voted in the following order. Councilman Whalen, Councilman Standard, Councilman Romano, Councilwoman Wallowitz, Supervisor Barrett, and that all annual payment of elected officials shall be as follows, and it's all bi-weekly for Philip Barrett, James Whalen, James Romano, Amy Standard, Linda Wallowitz, Robert Ryback, James Hughes, Patricia O'Donnell, and Dan Bull, and that Linda Wallowitz be reappointed as Deputy Supervisor for the Town of Clifton Park, and that Claudia Fitzgerald be reappointed as Confidential Executive Secretary, and that Mark Hagan be reappointed as Town Controller, and that Stephanie Drenchko be reappointed as Assistant Controller at salaries as budgeted, and be it further resolved that Philip Barrett is hereby reappointed as a marriage officer for the Town of Clifton Park pursuant to New York State Domestic Relations Law, Section 11C, for a term to expire December 31st, 2019, at no salary, and be it further resolved that Christine Pagniello, Coventry Drive, Clifton Park, and Teresa Brobson, Southbury Road, Clifton Park, are hereby reappointed Deputy Town Clerks at salary as budgeted. And be it further resolved that dog park fees be $30 per year and may be prorated at half price of $15 between July 1st, 2019 and December 31st, 2019. And be it further resolved that the duties of Town Attorney Thomas McCarthy shall include all legal matters relating to the Town Board and shall include all contracts and agreements on behalf of the town, supervision of all litigation matters, special districts, improvement districts, labor and employment law, tax certiorari matters, the Department of Building and Development, the Ethics Board, and such special projects delegated by the supervisor for a 2-year term to expire December 31st, 2020, at a salary as budgeted each year. And that the duties of Town Attorney Anthony Morelli shall include all legal matters related to the Town Planning Board and Planning Department and such duties as may be delegated by the Town Supervisor from time to time for a 2-year term to expire December 31st, 2020, at a salary as budgeted each year. And that the duties of Deputy Town Attorney Neil Weiner shall include legal matters related to the Zoning Board of Appeals and such special projects as may be delegated by the Town Supervisor from time to time for a 2-year term to expire December 31st, 2020, at a salary as budgeted each year, and that the duties of Deputy Town Attorney Robert Wilcox shall include representing the Town Attorney's Office at Justice Court and such other duties as may be delegated by the Town Supervisor from time to time for a 2-year term to expire December 31st, 2020, at a salary as budgeted each year, and that Councilwoman Amy Standard be reappointed as liaison to the Youth Court, and that Richard DiCaprio, Clifton Park Center Road, and Town Justices James Hughes and Robert Ryback and Sue Malinowski, Captain Executive Director, and Thomas McCarthy, Town Attorney, and Karen Hagan, Saratoga County District Attorney, and Michael Zerlo, Saratoga County Sheriff, and Michael Student, retired New York State Police Senior Investigator, and Philip Barrett, Town Supervisor, and Melinda Acker, Youth Court Director, and Cynthia Scavo, Youth Court Programs Director, be reappointed as members of the Youth Court Community Board, each to serve terms that expire December 31st, 2019, and that Teresa Cook, Raylinsky Road, Boston Lake, be designated as the official town officer to act on behalf of the assessor to process claims pursuant to Section 125, Article 7 of the Agricultural and Markets Law for the year 2019, and that Ellen Marie Martin, North Point Apartment 2 South, Clifton Park, be reappointed as Deputy Highway Superintendent at a salary as budgeted, and that Elaine Sawsville, Summerlin Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed as a half-time clerk in the Highway Department at a salary as budgeted. And and that Sanford Ross, 3 Friar Drive, Boston Lake, be reappointed as a part-time assistant and liaison to the town supervisor and act as liaison to Environmental Conservation Commission, ambulance squads, and shall be compensated with a waiver of insurance premiums pursuant to Section 807 of the Employee Manual. And that Rose Zavallo be reappointed receiver of taxes and assessments for the year 2019 at the salary as budgeted, and that she is hereby authorized to sign checks drawn on the accounts of receiver of taxes and assessments, Town of Clifton Park. And that Rosemary McGuire, Woodside Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed as a part-time clerk at grade 4, step 7, year 2 for the receiver of taxes and assessments for the year 2019. And that Jody Ensels, Rolling Brook Court, Clifton Park, be appointed as a part-time clerk for Town Hall at a grade 4, step 7, year 2. And that Rosemary DeMarco, Oak Brook Commons, Clifton Park, be reappointed as a part-time clerk at a grade 4, step 8, year 3. To be assigned in departments as needed, and that Kathleen O'Donnell, Greensboro Boulevard, and Darlene Sharon, Riverview Road, Rexford, be reappointed as clerks to the Town Justice exempt with terms to expire December 31st, 2019 at salaries as budgeted, and that Carol O'Brien, Tupelo Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed as a half-time court clerk at grade 5, step 7, year 1, and that Gail Buckley, Ruley Road, Boston Lake, be reappointed to health officer for the year 2019 at salary as budgeted. And that John Shearer, Bishop Ferry Road, Rexford, be reappointed to serve as town historian for the year 2019 at a salary as budgeted. And that Sheila Alvaro, Esopus Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed as a part-time receptionist at the town hall as needed at a grade 4, step 2, year 1. And that the Daily Gazette of Schenectady be designated as the official newspaper of the town. And that all commercial banks within the boundaries of the Capital District be designated as the official banks for the town and for depositing town funds, with said banks to be chosen based upon the best rates available. And that the supervisor is hereby authorized to enter into a contract with any accounting engineering firm, professional services firm, or other professional consulting firm for the needs of the town of Clifton Park, subject to legal review by the town attorney's office. And that the town board of the town of Clifton Park authorizes the payment of the town dues to the New York State Association of Towns. And that Brian Whitecups, Road, Boston Lake, be reappointed to serve as chairman of the Environmental Conservation Commission, term to expire December 31st, 2019. And that Raul Desi, Kashmiri Terrace, Clifton Park, and Marianne Mariotti, Hilltop Court, Rexford, be reappointed to serve as members of the Environmental Conservation Commission, each to serve for a 2-year term, terms to expire December 31st, 2020. And that Dwayne Lindsay, Sugar Hill Road, Rexford, and John Hahn, Nottingham Way North, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as members of the Fire Code Appeals Board, each for a 3-year term, terms to expire December 31st, 2021. And that Millicent Miller, Burning Bush Boulevard, Boston Lake, be reappointed as secretary to the Fire Code Appeals Board at a salary as budgeted. And that Rocco Ferraro, Friar Tuck Court, Clifton Park, be reappointed planning board chairman for the year 2019 at a stipend as budgeted. And that Andrew Newbauer, Lucier Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as a member of the planning board for a 7-year term to expire December 31st, 2025. And that Teresa LaSalle, Robinwood Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as an alternate member of the planning board for a 1-year term to expire December 31st, 2019. And that Betsy Snyder be reappointed secretary to the planning board as at a salary as budgeted to be paid in equal monthly installments. And that Nancy Kayanaga, Garnsey Road, Rexford, be reappointed to serve as chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission for a 1-year term to expire December 31st, 2019. And that Ahmad Andarawas, Hub Road, Boston Lake, be reappointed to serve as liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission, term to expire December 31st, 2019. And that Pauline Bohm, Riverview Road, Rexford, be reappointed as secretary to the Historic Preservation Commission at a salary as budgeted. And that Councilman James Whalen be reappointed as liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission. And that Alan Atwell, Greenleaf Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as chairman of the Emergency Services Advisory Board for the year 2019. And that Nancy Bellamy, Eastside Drive, Boston Lake, be reappointed to serve as a representative of the Boston Lake Fire District to the Emergency Services Advisory Board for a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2021. And that Alan Atwell, Greenleaf Drive, Clifton Park, and Franz Levine, 6 Lace Lane, Clifton Park, be appointed to serve as representatives of the Jonesville Fire District to the Emergency Services Advisory Board for a 3-year terms to expire December 31st, 2021. And that Robert Jack Gabowski, Martindale Court, Half Moon, be appointed to serve as representative, and Greg Stevens, Oak Brook Commons, Half Moon, be appointed to serve as an alternate representative of the Clifton Park Half-Moon Fire District Number 1 to the Emergency Services Advisory Board for a 3-year term, terms to expire December 31st, 2021. And that Millicent Miller be reappointed as Secretary to the Emergency Services Advisory Board for the year 2019 at a salary as budgeted. And that Councilwoman Linda Wallowit be reappointed as Liaison to the Emergency Services Advisory Board. And that Michael Dudick, Route 146, Clifton Park, be reappointed Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the year 2019 at a stipend as budgeted. And that David Donahue, Crown Point, Boston Lake, be reappointed to serve as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term to expire December 31st, 2023. And that Margaret Springley, Eastside Drive, Boston Lake, and Christy Schuhart, Citation Way, Boston Spa, be reappointed as Secretary and Alternate Secretary, respectively, to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the year 2019 at salaries as budgeted. And that Joshua Matthews, the West Old State Road, Schenectady, be reappointed as part-time laborer for the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 1. And that Margaret Caskey, Solomon Ave, Clifton Park, be reappointed as Secretary to the Clifton Park Sewer District Number 1 for the year 2019 at a salary as budgeted. And that Jonathan Schultz, Bruno Road, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as Chairman of the Industrial Development Agency for the year 2019. And that Todd Hess, Ashley Drive, Boston Lake, be reappointed to serve as a member of the Industrial Development Agency for a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2021. And that Gene Masurgeon, Wade Road, Clifton Park, be reappointed as attorney for the Industrial Development Agency for the year 2019. And that Brian Glick, Cubs Road, Boston Lake, be reappointed to serve as chairman of the Ethics Board for the year 2019. And that Ronald Okram, Hatley Road, Clifton Park, Linda DiCaprio, Blueberry Lane, Clifton Park, and James Mann, Woodstock Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as members of the Ethics Board for a 3-year terms to expire December 31st, 2021. And that Margaret Springley, Eastwood Drive, Boston Lake, be reappointed as Secretary to the Ethics Board for the year 2019 at the salary as budgeted. And that Councilman James Romano be reappointed as Liaison to the Ethics Board for the year 2019. And that Williamson Kellett, Twilight Drive, if that's right, let me check it out, be reappointed to serve as Chairman of the Board of Assessment Review for the year 2019. And that Eric Oppard, Daniel O'Court, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as a member of the Board of Assessment Review for a 5-year term to expire September 30th, 2023. And that Helmut Gerstenberger, Riverview Road Rector, be reappointed to serve as Chairman of the Clifton Park Water Authority for the year 2019. And that John Ryan, Eagle Trace, Boston Lake, be reappointed to serve as a member of the Clifton Park Water Authority for a 5-year term to expire December 31st, 2023. And that Councilman James Romano be reappointed as Liaison to the Clifton Park Water Authority for the year 2019. And that Albert Caroli, Prospect Point Lane, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as Chairman of the Town of Clifton Park Highway Safety Committee, term to expire December 31st, 2019. And that Arnold Hausler, Holly Court, Boston Lake, Albert Caroli, Prospect Point Lane, Jeffrey Labarge, Progress Drive, Clifton Park, and Eric Oppard, Daniel O'Court, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as members of the Town of Clifton Park Highway Safety Committee, each for a 2-year terms to expire December 31st, 2020. And that Councilwoman Amy Standard and Councilman James Whalen be reappointed as liaisons to the Department of Parks and Recreation. And that Councilwoman Standard be reappointed as Chairman of the Town of Clifton Park Green Committee. And that the Town Board of the Town of Clifton Park hereby reaffirms its commitment to the Citizen Advisory Committees, Historic Preservation Commission, the current members of the Green Committee, and hereby reappoints all said members to serve at the pleasure of the Town Board. And that Eric Hamilton, Pico Road, Clifton Park, and John Shearer, Bishop Ferry Road, Rexford, and Lawrence Zizdak, Riverview Road, Clifton Park, be reappointed to serve as the Clifton Park representatives to the Mohawk Towpath Byway Project for the year 2019. And that David Miller, Hidden Valley Lane, Boston Lake, be reappointed to serve as Chairman of the Open Space Trail Riverfront Committee, term to expire December 31st, 2019. And that William Connor Jr., District Court, Alicia Jacobs, Stony Creek Drive, Michael Hartnett, Superbriar Drive, be reappointed to serve as members of the Open Space Trails Riverfront Committee, each for a 2-year terms to expire December 31st, 2020. And that Councilman James Romano be reappointed as liaison to the Open Space Trails Riverfront Committee to serve for the year 2019. And that Cynthia Zlogar, Canterbury Road, be reappointed as a part-time senior express switchboard dispatcher at a grade 2, step 6, year 1. And Linda Enders, Boyack Road, Clifton Park, be be reappointed to serve as a part-time senior express switchboard dispatcher at grade 2, step 1, year 1, and that Sheila Alvaro, Esopus Clifton Park, Esopus Drive, Clifton Park, be reappointed as part-time senior express switchboard dispatcher chauffeur at a grade 2, step 5, year 2, and that Robert Brondy, Ashley Drive, Boston Lake, be reappointed as a part-time senior express switchboard dispatcher chauffeur at a grade 2, step 4, year 3, and that Betty Bolton, Brookwood Drive, Scotia, and Rebecca Mara, Lee Ave, Rexford, be reappointed as senior express chauffeurs at salaries as budgeted, and that Joseph McCormick, Shadowwood Way, Boston Lake, and William Tierney, Cordova Court, Clifton Park, be reappointed as substitute senior express chauffeurs at a grade 1, step 3, and that Shirley Roberts, Damas Drive, Rosemary DeMarco, Oakbrook Commons, Raina Munafo, Greenleaf Drive, be reappointed as part-time clerks at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center at salaries as budgeted, and that Donald Coons, Evergreen Boulevard, Scotia, be hired as a part-time water and sewage plant operator at an annual salary of $6,500, and that the following organizational representatives be reaffirmed to the Clifton Park Citizens Court Council Disaster and Emergency Preparedness for a 2-year term, terms to expire December 31st, 2020. From Captain Susan Malinowski, Jonesville Fire Department, Patrick Champagne, Bishop Ferry Fire Department, Chief Phil Grosso, Clifton Park Captain Fire Department, Chief Art Hunsinger, Boston Lake Ambulance Squad, Van Judd, Southern Saratoga Chamber of Commerce, Pete Bardunias, Shenandoah Central Schools, Rebecca Carmen, Clifton Park Senior Community Center, Vern Sines, Clifton Park Water Authority, Donald Austin, and St. Edward's Church Faith Community, Mary Ann Sekelic, and that the Town Center Form-Based Code Expansion Advisory Committee established by Resolution 287 of 2017 be reappointed, terms to expire December 31st, 2019, and that the following individuals are reappointed as members of the Deferred Compensation Committee for the Town of Clifton Park effective immediately, all to serve for a 1-year term to meet semi-annually. For the Controller position, Mark Hagan, the 1 General Unit, Patrick Jarosz, 1 Highway Unit, Stanley Rusunovich, Management Rep, Retiree Rep, Barbara Smith, Management Rep, Stephanie Drenchko, and that Margaret Caskey and Richard Countermine be reappointed as alternate members of the Deferred Compensation Committee, and that the Town of Clifton Park investment policy and capitalization policy is hereby reaffirmed, and that the attached procurement policy and procedures as amended are hereby adopted, and that the supervisor be authorized to enter into an agreement with Captain for an amount as budgeted, and that such agency shall provide the Town of Clifton Park with an audit of its financial affairs for the previous year, and that the supervisor be authorized to enter into an agreement with the Southern Saratoga YMCA for an amount as budgeted, and that such agency shall provide the Town of Clifton Park with an audit of its financial affairs for the previous year, and that the supervisor be authorized to enter into an agreement on behalf of the Clifton Park Senior Community Center between Northeast Dining and Lodging and Saratoga County Office for the Aging for a dining program and or home delivery of meals for the senior citizens in the town of Clifton Park for the year 2019 for an amount as budgeted, and that Supervisor Barrett is authorized to execute official documents and instruments as per law on behalf of the town of Clifton Park, and that department heads and their staff are authorized to attend schools, conferences, and meetings consistent with the procurement policies and procedures and as approved by the town board, and that pursuant to Highway Law 143, the following rates for hired trucks and equipment for the Highway Department for the year 2019 shall be approved by the town board of the town of Clifton Park as follows.
And I move that we waive the reading of the many lines here. Second? Swallow it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that a base rate of $13 per hour be set for the town highway department for all wingmen or other extra help in conjunction with snow removal to be paid from the highway department, and that the highway superintendent under section 142 subdivision 1A of the highway law be authorized to purchase special tools and other implements required in the operation of the highway department, equipment not to exceed $10,000 for the year 2019 and $35,000 for each public works project according to New York State law and the town of Clifton Park procurement guidelines for the year 2019, and that the highway superintendent is hereby authorized to attend highway superintendent schools, conferences, and meetings, and that a voucher shall be submitted in proper form and substance no later than 10 days after termination of such schools, conferences, and meetings for reimbursement, and that the highway superintendent is authorized to purchase tools and equipment for the highway department per general municipal law, section 103, subdivision 6, at authorized auctions conducted by governmental organizations within the state of New York, the amount not to exceed limitations set by the 2019 budget, and that employees of the building and development department are authorized to have memberships for the calendar year 2019 in the Capital District Chapter and the New York State Building Officials Conference, to include attendance at regular bi-monthly luncheon meetings at said conference as budgeted per person per year. Said amounts to be charged to the membership training account, and that the mileage rate of reimbursement for the use of town employees' cars shall be consistent with IRS established rates.
Very good, Pat. Only 4 breaths. So, really nothing in the way of changes as far as appointments go. One thing I do want to point out is Don Coons was mentioned here, being hired as a part-time operator, and that is for the Riverview Landing sewer district, very small sewer district in Rexford. It's been in place for many years. Don was working through, was hired by one of our engineering firms, and we were as a subcontractor because there needs to be somebody with a license that's overseeing that system. And they were looking to raise what we were being charged on an annual basis for the oversight of that district. So we went straight to Don and hired him directly and kept the rate the same. So overall, it'll be a little bit of a savings, I guess, overall. But Don will be working part-time for the town just for Riverview Landing. So I just wanted to point that out because that was a new addition.
You want me to add that to that resolution?
May have stood out. Sure.
Just add it to that?
Yeah, sure. Any other discussion, questions at this time? Okay. We have a motion?
So,
By Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Waller. Discussion. Okay, Ben?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. I move that we adjourn the organizational meeting 2019. Second by Ms. Wallowitz. Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz? Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. Welcome to the first Clifton Park Town Board meeting of 2019. It is January 2nd, and we did conduct the Pledge of Allegiance at our organizational meeting earlier this evening. We do have 2 sets of board meeting minutes for consideration, the 10th and the 17th. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wallowitz. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard? Yes. Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. Communications and announcements. Any takers? Okay. Very good. We'll get right to business. The first thing on our agenda tonight is a public hearing on extending the deadline for applications for the partial tax exemption for real property of senior citizens. I'll ask our town clerk, Pat O'Donnell, to read the legal notice as it appeared in the Gazette.
Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Clifton Park will conduct a public hearing on the second day of January 2019 at approximately 7:30 p.m. in the Wood Memorial Meeting Room in the Town Office Building located at 1 Town Hall Plaza, Town of Clifton Park, County, Saratoga, State of New York, to consider the adoption of the local law 2019. The local law as follows. The deadline for applications for exemptions for new or the renewed applications are extended to each annual tax grievance day upon proof of the death of an immediate family or serious illness of the applicant or immediate family members that is documented by a physician, and this was in the Daily Gazette on December 26th.
Okay, thank you, Pat. We'll open the public hearing. Walter, if you could give us some background as to why we are having a public hearing on this matter.
What this is...
You can move that microphone a little closer.
What this is an amendment to the senior citizen exemption. It's exemption 467 of the real property tax law. And this amendment is just basically to help senior citizens that have had a problem with meeting the March 1st deadline. The two conditions are there's an illness in the family or a death in the family. And it defines what immediate family is, and then that will extend them up until grievance day, which is May, usually the fourth Tuesday in May, so they can have from March 1st to the fourth Tuesday in May to get all their paperwork into me without having a problem or losing the exemption. So it makes it a lot easier for seniors, especially the illness part, because we don't want anybody to lose the exemption because they just couldn't get here because of that reason or a death in the family. So it seems like a very good thing to do for the seniors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you conduct a lot of follow-up leading up to that deadline individually with the families. And I know that's appreciated, and you save people each year from missing that deadline through your extensive follow-up. So we appreciate that. Anything else you want to add?
No,
Walt?
that's pretty much it.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Okay. Young man, would you like to speak on this matter? No? You sure? I don't think you qualify, but someday you might. Pam? Okay. Okay, I'll entertain them. Well, with that, we'll close the public hearing.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
No.
All right. There's no rush on passing that this evening, right?
No.
Okay, we'll wait till next week.
Yeah, that's good for next week.
Very good. We have other resolutions on the agenda. Pat, if you could read through those, and we'll consider each one individually.
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract for engineering design and scope of work. Whereas by resolution number 296 of 2018, the town board approved the multimodal number 4 master grant agreement with the state of New York for the installation of a pedestrian safety project for the Moe Road Trail crosswalk at the intersection of Grooms Road and Moe Road. Whereas the town has been awarded $25,000 in grant funding for the multimodal 4 grant project by the New York State Department of Transportation for the acquisition and installation of pedestrian signals, signage, and markings for the project, excluding design services. And whereas the town board wishes to proceed with engineering and design services for the detailed design work, environmental analysis, and the right-of-way design per the attached scope of work. And whereas the planning director recommends that the engineering and design services contract be awarded to Greenman Peterson, Inc., based on their initial response to the town's request for expressions of interest and the preliminary design and support the grant funding applications. And whereas the town board wishes to fund the design services for the project with local funds, now it can be resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign the attached engineering consulting agreement for design services with Greenman Peterson, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $8,600, and the budget line is listed.
Thank you, Pat.
Just keep
Yes, go right ahead.
A resolution referring the Edison Club PDD amendment and application to the planning board for an advisory opinion. Whereas by local law number 8 of 1999, the town board adopted a local law providing for the creation of a planned development district known as Edison Club. And whereas Edison Club Inc. has been in its current location since 1925 and operates a golf and country club facility at 891 Riverview Road, Rexford, within the planned development district that was created in 1999. And whereas Edison Club Inc. has applied for an amendment to the zoning district to authorize the reduction of the current golf course from 27 holes to 18 holes, construct a new clubhouse complex, and modify other recreational areas and parking. And whereas the application also seeks authorization for an addition of 215 dwelling units in a variety of housing types to include condominiums, two-family and/or semi-detached duplexes, and single-family homes. And whereas the applicant also proposes to include a 60-bed senior care facility, and whereas the applicant further proposes to convey land to the Stewart Shops Corporation to allow for expansion of the existing neighboring Stewart Shop, and whereas the applications to materially expand facilities within an existing planned development district requires an amendment to the special zoning district pursuant to PDD approval process contained within section 20872 of the town code. And whereas the town board wishes to refer Edison Club application to the planning board for their advisory opinion, now therefore be resolved that the application of Edison Club Inc. is referred to the town's planning board for their advisory opinion pursuant to section 20871 of the town code. A resolution authorizing the installation of certain road signage on Pierce Road in the vicinity of the railroad crossing on Pierce Road, Town of Clifton Park. Whereas Section 1660 of New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law authorizes the town board to regulate parking on town roads under certain parameters, and whereas the Highway Department maintains signs along local roadways within the town, including signs along Pierce Road, and whereas Canadian Pacific Railway personnel have requested that vehicles not be allowed to stand in the vicinity of the railway intersection, potentially impeding the crossing gates and creating unsafe conditions for the trains. And whereas Highway Superintendent Bull has recommended that the town board prohibit idling or standing in proximity to the railroad crossing on Pierce Road for safety reasons, and that signs be placed advising operators not to park, idle, or stand in the area of the railroad crossing. Now therefore be resolved that the Highway Department is authorized to install appropriate signage, including no parking, standing, or idling signs, as indicated on the attached aerial view, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall become effective upon posting of said signs, and be it further resolved that town security staff is authorized to enforce parking restrictions pursuant to Chapter 33 of the Town Code. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to accept a proposal for professional engineering services for future extension of the corporate commerce sewer district and to make a transfer from the assigned fund balance. Whereas the collection systems manager, Michael O'Brien, published a request for proposals to solicit bids from qualified engineering firms for the preparation of a map plan report to establish an extension of the corporate commerce sewer district. And whereas MG Engineering and Land Surveying PC has submitted a proposal for the preparation of the map plan report in the amount of $6,400. And whereas Michael O'Brien, Planning Director John Scavo, Thomas McCarthy, and Councilman Whalen interviewed the two lowest bidders submitting response proposals for the project. And whereas the committee recommends the retention of MJ Engineering for the work based on their experience and familiarity with the project, now it will be resolved that the supervisor is authorized to approve the attached proposal for the design services from MJ Engineering and Land Surveying, and be it further resolved that the controller is authorized to compensate MJ Engineering and Land Surveying in an amount not to exceed $6,400 with a transfer from the assigned fund balance to, and that line is also listed. A resolution to ratify the agreement between Saratoga County Office for the Aging, Northeast Dining and Lodging, and the Town of Clifton Park through the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. Whereas the New York State Office of Aging requires written site agreements between the host county, the contractor, and all sites serving meals relative to Title 3C of the Older Americans Act of 1965, commonly known as Meals on Wheels program. And whereas the Shenenga-Ahoa Adult Community Center has acted as a host site to the program under an agreement with Northeast Dining and Lodging, Saratoga Springs. And whereas the town board as owners of the Clifton Park Senior Community Center wishes to ratify and renew the agreement between Northeast Dining and Lodging, Old Gate Road, Saratoga Springs, and the Saratoga County Office of Aging with offices at 152 West High Street, Boston Spa. Now therefore be resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign the attached agreement on behalf of the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. A resolution by the Town of Clifton Park granting authority to the State of New York to construct landscaping on the New York Route 146, New York Route 146A, Bishop Ferry Road roundabout project, and agreeing to subsequently own, maintain, and repair new landscape features. Excuse me. Whereas New York State Department of Transportation proposes the construction of a roundabout at the intersection of Route 146 and 146A of Bishop Ferry Road in the Town of Clifton Park, located in Saratoga County, and whereas the Town of Clifton Park approves of such a project and desires to have landscaping features included on the project, and whereas the State of New York will include as a part of the above-mentioned project to provide at no cost to the town landscaping feature items including multi-use pad, benches, trash receptacles, concrete pads for benches, bicycle racks, roundabout center island planting beds, plant materials, and turf areas pursuant to Section 10, subdivisions 27 and 35 of the state highway law as shown on the contract plans relating to the project and meeting the requirements of the owner. And whereas the town of Clifton Park has agreed at its own expense to maintain such landscaping features constructed as a part of this project for a period of at least 30 years. Now therefore be resolved that the town of Clifton Park approves of the addition of the above landscaping features to the project, and state of New York will include landscape features within this construction project, and be it further resolved that the town of Clifton Park shall maintain or cause to be maintained at its own expense such landscaping features for a period of at least 30 years. And be it further resolved that Supervisor Barrett is hereby authorized by the town board to enter into and execute an agreement with the state of New York and through the Commissioner of Transportation to maintain these landscaping features on the above identified project as it relates to the town of Clifton Park. And further resolved that the town clerk of the town of Clifton Park is hereby directed to transmit 5 certified copies of the foregoing resolution to the New York State Department of Transportation. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
All right. Any questions on the resolutions? Okay. If you could read the headings and we'll consider each resolution individually.
This is resolution number 2 of 2019, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract for engineering design and scope of work. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. The Moen Grooms Road intersection, it's a very important intersection along our extensive trail system. The grant will ensure that pedestrian safety is enhanced at this intersection. At a recent town board meeting, we outlined several intersections that will where the crosswalks will be significantly improved. The town has secured a $400,000 grant to accomplish that work, and those improvements will be in the Exit 9 area. So our previously stated goal of enhancing pedestrian access not only in the Exit 9 area but throughout the town continues to be met, and we're excited about these improvements that will be completed this year. So anything you want to add here, John?
I think you covered it.
Okay. Anything from the board? Discussion? Okay, Beth?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallace? Yes. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 3 of 2019, a resolution referring the Edison Club PDD amendment application to the planning board for an advisory opinion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wawa. We completed a public process with the initial project that was presented to the town. However, because it's changed, we believe another public process is necessary. So we will be, with this resolution, referring this development application to the planning board. Okay. Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallace?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 4, 2019, a resolution authorizing the installation of certain road signage on Pierce Road in the vicinity of the railroad crossing on Pierce Road, Town of Clifton Park.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowitz. Mr. Moll.
Nothing too crazy about this. There's really 2 types of signs we put up, warning signs and regulatory signs. Warning signs are like the yellow sign that shows a deer on it, no big deal. Any type of regulatory sign such as this, we need town board approval. Canadian Pacific came to us, said that tractor trailers were parking in the area around the crossing and was giving them...
The railroad folks.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
They came to us.
They did.
Right.
So it's technically our public right-of-way that these signs would be going into, and they would be surrounding the railroad crossing. And I personally have seen it, driving through in the mornings. They're parked very close to train tracks, and Canadian Pacific said they don't know who did it, but there's been damage done in the area, people backing into things, so we want to keep that.
Interesting.
Last thing we want is to damage the railroad crossing.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, very good. Any questions for Mr. Bull? Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standar?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walowitz? Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 5, right?
Yep.
Five.
All right. Yeah.
Of 2019, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to accept a proposal for professional engineering services for future extension of the corporate commerce sewer district and to make a transfer from the assigned fund balance.
So,
Second?
moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Mrs. Standard. Mr. O'Brien?
This is an effort to expand the corporate commerce sewer district to take into the existing borders some subdivisions that have come in along the way that are outside users now, as well as some future pressures that are already either approved or working with the planning board that are actually outside of the district. And we've requested engineering services to evaluate the boundaries of those extensions so we get everybody in one fell swoop. And also to help us figure out the proper way to create charges equitably amongst all the homes that are there and the commercial properties that have existed in this corporate commerce district for a long time. One of the most important aspects of that is to maintain the fact, make sure that we are aware that there is capacity for the existing parcels that have been in there forever as these other projects, apply pressure. So we met with a few firms, discussed this. This firm certainly seemed to be well versed in it and promised us to deliver those goods. So. And that's what we're doing. This is a housekeeping item that's been needed to be done for a long time, and we're getting it done.
Okay. Very good. Councilman Whalen, did you have any thoughts? I know you were part of the group.
Yeah, no, very, very well summarized. I have nothing to add.
Very good. Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standar? Yes. Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walowitz? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett, excuse me.
Nice.
I'm tongue-tied.
Haven't called for us. Not today, but in the cold.
Not yet.
Yeah, the night's still young. It's only 7:15. I got a long night ahead of me, so.
Resolution number 6 of 2019, a resolution to ratify the agreement between Saratoga County Office for the Aging, Northeast Dining and Lodging, and the Town of Clifton Park through the Clifton Park Senior Community Center.
So moved. Second?
Moved by Ms. Walowitz, second by Mrs. Standard. This just continues our current service that we offer, which is lunches each day, both at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center and the ones that are delivered. The nice part of the program is, since the town has assumed operational responsibility 2 years ago, we've doubled the amount of members at the senior center, and the number of members that partake in this program has increased as well. So all the way around, it's a nice thing for us to offer here in the town of Clifton Park for Clifton Park residents. Any discussion? Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standar?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 7 of 2019. A resolution by the town of Clifton Park granting authority to the state of New York to construct landscaping on the New York Route 146, Route 146A, Bishop Ferry Road roundabout project, and agreeing to subsequently own, maintain, and repair new landscaping features.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Romano. We lobbied, as I mentioned at a prior meeting, lobbied DOT for several years to complete intersection improvements at Route 146 and 146A. We're very pleased when they made that commitment. They came up with some options for those improvements, and they decided on the final design, which will be a roundabout. Once they made that decision, we've worked with them diligently on beautification measures for the intersection. when the construction is finished and the final improvements are in place, the town board is very concerned about how the area will look. And we believe there should be significant plantings, and we've been able to work with them to incorporate some pedestrian access, which we're very excited about. Safe pedestrian access. There's going to be the blinking lights that will be PED activated on either side of a crosswalk in a few different areas around the intersection itself. So that's all very positive, but and since it will sit along our extensive trail network, it's important that there be an area, at least one area, for respite, for people that are biking, walking, running, to stop and relax. So we want it to be, yes, it's a busy area of town, but we want it to be a place that is that has a sense of place, that has some beautification measures that will survive long after the construction is done and the traffic is moving much more smoothly than it has in many, many years. But I want to thank DOT because they've been very agreeable. They've presented some fantastic ideas as we've worked through this process. They've presented some ideas. We've given our feedback. They've taken those ideas back to headquarters, come back with new and better plans on a couple of occasions, and so I just want to thank them for their partnership throughout this planning process. And I'm hoping we have a couple of surprises that I don't want to talk about yet until they're in part of the plan, but again, we just want the final product to be something the town can be proud of from an aesthetic standpoint, and have it be user-friendly, not only for automobiles, but for pedestrians. So that is all I have to say about that. Oh, one other thing, DOT will make water and electricity available within the center of the intersection once it's completed, which is very important if we are to provide us the ability to maintain the beautification measures that the state will implement. It's important that we have electricity and water to properly maintain what is there. So we want to thank them for ensuring that will occur. Obviously, the simplest and easiest opportunity to extend water and electricity is during construction. So that's when that will be completed. Any discussion? Yeah, so pretty self-explanatory at this point. You've all been very familiar with the plans, the public meetings that we held in conjunction with DOT. I think have been very positive. It'll be similar to the Rexford Bridge. At the end of the day, when the project is finished, one, how does it look, and how does it function? Those are really the two questions that will remain, and we won't know that until the project's done. However, based on all the evidence that they have provided to us and shown us, empirical and otherwise, personally, I'm very confident that the final product will be a positive development for Clifton Park for many years to come, just as the Rexford Bridge has been. I mean, you look at, when you consider the difference in traffic flow for people that use the Rexford Bridge some on a daily basis. They drive through there during the busiest times of the day. The commuting hours in the morning and afternoon, people rave about it. It's night and day. I think you'll see the same type of result here. So, All right, and I gotta say, DOT was great about that project too. You know, we wanted pedestrian access incorporated with the lighting along that bridge, and they installed all of those amenities. So I have nothing but positive things to say about DOT to this point. So we do want to thank them. And I want to thank the staff and the town board too, because we've invested a great deal of time working with them to get to this point, and we should all be pleased about that. So, anything you want to add, John? I guess
I
it's...
think you did a good job.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, Pat?
Council Whalen?
Yes.
Council Standock? Yes. Council Romano?
Yes.
Council Wallace? Yes. Vice President?
Yes, any other business to come before the board this evening? Okay, we'll go to public privilege. If you'd like to speak on a town matter as we start 2019, please raise your hand. We'll ask that you come forward, state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. Pam? Young man in the back? No? Glenn? No? You don't know? All right, very good.
Motion to adjourn.
Second by Mr. Whalen.
Council Whalen? Yes. Council Standock? Yes. Council Romano?
Yes.
Council Wallace? Yes. Vice President?
Yes, thank you.